So mate, did you see the Rangers game?
I did.
Thoughts?
Another disappointing result, to be fair, Charlie. It's I think the start that they've had, obviously losing a manager, new manager coming in. I think the fans were straight back on side because of how difficult it was, obviously under Russell Martin.
See, to be fair, right? See, following Russell Martin, it's a dream scenario as a manager, isn't it? Because it doesn't get much worse than that, does it?
It is.
Abuse-wise.
And you had obviously the big game, obviously, which resulted in a defeat against Celtic. To follow, obviously, just in a job, to have an opportunity to get to a cup final, to then lose that against Celtic, obviously your arch rivals, was obviously a sore one for them to swallow. But I think they were, 3 games in the league winning. Obviously, the European game comes, a bit more disappointment, but there's no getting away from the fact that only 5 points behind Celtic, albeit difference in games. To then drop points against Falkirk. Listen, John McGlynn's done a wonderful job, and I heard his interview afterwards saying that they probably felt they should have got a bit more out of the game, so it tells you where Rangers are at. I think the free hit that Danny Röhl has now had, I think the narrative is starting to change a wee bit within the fans. I think there's still a real disappointment within the fan base for what they're watching. I don't think they see drastic changes. Listen, it's the same players in it, we both know that. So, but you naturally get that wee boost, don't you? That wee bounce that new managers come in. I don't think we've quite seen that.
But he's got the results, hasn't he? So he's won the last 4 league games. If he'd won yesterday, it'd have been 5 in a row in the league, which Russell Martin wasn't getting. Why do you think he's getting? Why do you think he's got that bounce? Well, results-wise, bounce.
I think there's definitely been a difference in the way he sets up. Obviously, I think he's a wee bit more structured, a wee bit more rigid. I think he gets more men behind the ball. I think their back line's slightly deeper, which obviously doesn't expose the back line as much. We've spoke about John Souttar quite regularly. I think if you play for Rangers and Celtic and you've done it, you need to defend in your halfway line. There's lots of space in behind you. I think teams nowadays, with the analysts that they've got, the footage that they get, really good coaches within the leagues, that it's easier to set up and play in the counter-attack than it is to be in the ascendancy and try and break teams down. I think
I think Michael Owen famously says, it's easier to destroy than it is to create.
I think so. Listen, everybody will have a difference of opinion, but I think Rangers being a wee bit harder to beat has been a big difference within Danny Röhl. But
so what's he done in that?
I just think they've been a wee bit more. I just think they're positional. To be honest, I just think they've defended a wee bit deeper, which I don't think's exposed them as much. I think personnel, he's obviously tinkered now with quite a lot of the squad. I think he's only just recently come out and said that he now kind of knows what he wants in January, which is, you could argue, is alarming for some of the players.
He said there's a red, an amber and a green. Have you heard this? Honestly, who's green? Who would you say is green?
Well, I think you have to get, first and foremost, you have to protect the assets at the club, don't you, as a business part. So you've got like boys like Raskin and that, and there's no doubt that Nico Raskin, off the back of the part that he went through with Russell Martin, no playing, etc. He's obviously Belgium international. There was at one stage that only last year he won Player of the Year. There was a lot of fan upheaval when Russell wasn't playing him. He's got back in the team. Has he been at his brilliant best? I don't think anyone would say that he has. I don't even think he would say that. So when you think of boys like Nico Raskin, you've got to think that they are ones that have got to be in the green category. The fans are...
MDLs? Tavernier?
Tav's obviously, listen, you can't get Jack Butland. I don't think you can get away from it. If you go through roughly the starting 11, John Souttar's obviously, we mentioned, obviously his contract's obviously up. Diego's obviously one that potentially could go back. When you think
I look at Antman, I look at Asgard, Gassama, are they given enough?
You've also got the investment in the front line. You've got Miovski, cost a lot of money. Shermeti cost a lot of money. Do you know what I mean? Like, on long contracts, like, it's easy for us, I suppose, to sit here and say, listen, you would love to change that, or you think that they could change that, without doing any disrespect to the lads, because I know how difficult it is when you get there. Big club, big expectations. It's so much easier to play with Old Firm when the team's winning rather than getting beat.
So this is what I think, right? I think that when you play for Celtic or Rangers, right, the same thing. There's intense pressure on you, right? Obviously, you've done it. But I think when you have a bad start, I had a terrible start. I never get back in the team to January having had a bad start. I think it's even harder, because when you go in, you've got to be spotless. Because the minute you make it, as soon as you step on the pitch, I remember coming on against Hearts, and Neil Lennon, centre half, and Neil Lennon's like, "Can you play centre half?" At the time, I was like, "I can play centre half." But I remember thinking, these fans are going to see me coming on here, and they're going to be like, what's going on there? You can hear, you can almost feel and hear the mumbles. But you've got to, then you've got to be bang on. You've got to be perfect. And then the next game it's the same. Next game it's the same. I think when I look at Rangers players now, they've had a bad start under Russell Martin, there's no doubt about it, they're new signings. And I think now you need to be even stronger to then step in and step on that pitch and say, right, Rothwell, for example, I'm going to be your number 6, I'm going to be your number 8 midfielder, give me the ball and I'll go and create. It takes an extra bit of bravery, because if you play with Fulham, right, you play with Bournemouth, and no disrespect to these clubs, right, I've spoke to the boys that play with them, they walk out and they could get beat 3 in a row and they turn up at Craven Cottage and the fans are like, yeah, they're just happy to be at a game, here we go. You turn up, you lose 3 and 4 in a row and your bus is getting the wind they put in at Celtic. You don't even get a chance at that. You lose 1 game in a row, you turn up at Celtic Park, you can run it for the warm-up, you can hear the mumps and the moans and they're almost saying use better fucking win the day. Do you know what I mean? And you don't get that down south. I think that's a big problem with the Rangers signing. I think they're struggling to deal with the pressures of being at Ibrox.
But we spoke about it before, haven't we? Like how when you think of recruitment, no matter how complex you want to make it, and everybody's got fancy recruitment models nowadays, how do you find the right players that have got the right mentality, with a thick skin, that can handle the pressure? I actually think, I go back to my time a wee bit, Charlie, moving into a club that already had that within it. It was already ingrained.
Yeah.
And then you look at the success that Celtic have had. There's no doubt that when Scott Brown first went there, he had to learn, he had to ply his trade, he had to earn his stripes, he'd one day become the leader. But he'd learnt off guys like Neil Lennon's and these type of guys that were ingrained. And then the pass on to Callum McGregor was seamless. Yeah. Same again, he's learning for the same type of standards that are set every day. I was lucky when I went there. Walter, the creme de la creme, as the manager. You had Coisty, you had Gerantes, you had guys like Sandy Jardine, rest his soul, walking about the training centre. You then had Barry Ferguson.
Yeah.
And you had young players like Charlie Adams, Chris Burks, Alan Huttons, Alan McGregors, who had come through the youths that had seen different successful Rangers teams in the time. And then I'm a young player that then joins, and I'm like, I was a sponge. I wanted to learn, I wanted to look around. Who in this current time is that person that you're looking around and looking at the Rangers standards, who have been there, seen it, done it, won titles,
either on the staff or in the team?
Yeah. And I think it's there's a lot to be said. I didn't just mean if you've been an ex-Rangers player and you've been successful, that means you get a job for Rangers. I didn't think that's as easy as that. I do think when you think of the DNA of the club, the more people you have and the surroundings, the standards, the edge within the building creates that. And I think you then see that part when you get players that come up, and all due respect to them, they could go and play for other clubs and be really successful. But to be successful at Rangers, that mentality, that desire, that drive, that cutthroat nature that you need to be successful.
There's no mentality. I know we spoke about it before, but there's no mentality like it in Glasgow, is there? Like nowhere. There's nowhere in the world that I know of, definitely not down south because I've obviously been down there, that is you need to win every week and it's a disaster if you don't.
Aye.
Look at Rangers yesterday. I mean, 0-0 to Falkirk. That's a game they've got to go and win. Falkirk, no disrespect to Falkirk, but they had Connor Allen playing centre half, who I had at Celtic last year, who's a good player by the way, and he's got potential, but Rangers released him. He's now playing centre half for Falkirk. John McGlynn's a good coach, good manager. Seen him with a Canada Goose on yesterday. He's forgot he's selling it.
He's loving it, isn't
Big Canada Goose.
But I'm the same. I love him. I had Connor Allen when he was Stevie Wright actually brought him in to play in our under-15s and come in as like a kind of attacking stroke 10 midfielder type. I watched him then play for Ajax for against Ajax for the under-18s in the Youth Champions League, and he played centre back. Obviously Jordy had seen him obviously when he was at Celtic, when they were obviously looking for young players, and I'd said to him, listen, bags of energy, loads of legs. Obviously had him before you obviously got the job. And then you're thinking, aye, all due respect, like if they're good enough to go to Ibrox and play and destroy and be really effective, it questions, are these the right players to be allowing to go, or is it just the Rangers team are underperforming?
I know, it's mad. I look at the front line Rangers, I mean, why would you say they're not scoring goals?
I think the biggest thing for me, like, I was really lucky when you think of Boydies, they sniffed out their own chances, they had loads of chances. We spoke about it before we come on, the kind of suffocation that normally the old firm teams have, especially at home. I've been there as an opposition player and you cannot breathe for 90 minutes, and every time you feel you've got time, somebody's breathing down your throat and nicking the ball off you. I just want to go to Ibrox now. I don't feel the same intensity for opposition players. Like I said it, I think the last podcast we done, and I've said it before in the media, that when I watched Hearts beat Rangers, I watched Hearts warm up and they looked like they were buzzing to be at Ibrox. Whereas normally opposition teams go to Ibrox and you can just sense, it's a bit like you talking about being a player, walking on, that you're under the microscope, you're under pressure. I used to walk onto Ibrox as a Hibs player with a bit of swagger, believing in myself, but I'm looking across at the pitch, I'm thinking, there's Barry Ferguson. Yeah. I'm going to go toe to toe with him and he's going to show me how good a player he is. I need to rise to that challenge, whereas I'm watching opposition players now with a wee bit swagger when they're coming out the tunnel at Ibrox, and I think that's, unfortunately, at the moment, that's what it feels like as an opposition player to play at Ibrox, and that shouldn't be the case.
You should be going to Celtic Park in Ibrox and going, right, we're probably sitting in the edge of your box for.
Doesn't mean you didn't believe you can go there. Of course you can. What's the point of turning up? But normally opposition managers, they'll say it, team talk, try and silence the crowd. Yep. Try and stay in the game for 20 minutes. Then can we get to half time? And obviously we just spoke about Alfie Agyeman, who I had at Falkirk. At Celtic. I already knew Falkirk, Brian Graham starting up front, good in both boxes, get a hold of the ball, and then you bring the speed on when the game starts to open up if you're still in it. It's almost predictable before it happens. Great, I would do exactly the same. But if Agyeman's coming on when you're 3-0 down, it's totally different.
Yeah.
And normally that would be the case on a real strong Rangers team where they would buy into submission. John McGlynn's making subs to probably think about the next game, but instead he's making subs to try and win the game. And I just think that's, unfortunately, at the moment, that's where Rangers are at. So do you think it's their intensity when they lose the ball, you mean, or when they've not got the ball? I think a bit both, Charlie. I think who is the players in the final third, apart from Gassama, who are the players that have that imagination, the bit off the cuff?
What's your thoughts on Asgard?
I think Asgard's actually, I think there's a good player in there, and I think he is the one that's got the strength and the mobility to push away from players, to twist and turn, to drive, to hit that shot. We've seen him score that wonderful goal only a few weeks ago, but so inconsistent. And same again, we spoke about like these packed defences. Who's the players that are playing the wee cook passes? Where's the wee one round the corner? Where's the wee give and go? Where's the player that can receive in a wee tight area that sucks you in, that pops it off quickly, that gets set, that gets a shot off? That my argument is, if I put you in an opposition team now as a centre back, I think the experience you've got and the player that you've got, I think you would marshal what's in front of you, what's at the side of you, and I don't think you would ever need to get dragged out your pocket or have to stretch or have to like really scramble back to your own goal, and I think that's alarming, really.
Well, that's exactly what I think in terms of their positioning. I think Asgard comes too deep.
Aye.
He's not brave enough to stand high up between the defence and the midfield to receive it between the lines. It give the centre back a problem and the midfielder problem, because if he's between the lines, then I'm all of a sudden telling my midfielder, watch your left shoulder. He then tries to get distracted to him and then get allowed to play in front, or then I step out the gap and there's gaps behind me as centre back. I just don't think they take up good enough positions.
So there's one for you off the back of that. If Asgard is in the right position, who's the person that's passing him the ball?
I know, that's the thing. Is it?
So where's the risky passes?
Raskin?
Who's Raskins, Connor Barons, Diamandes? It might be quite simple to fans, but it's a risky pass.
Yeah.
And then you talk about animosity. You talk about when you land on that ball and that wee bit where you need to thread it through the eye of the needle. Are you brave enough to play it? It gets intercepted. You're running back to your own goal. Teams are counter-attacking on you. You've got the speedy Agyeman in wide areas. Do you then have the personality to play that pass when it's crucial? Yeah. I think for me that's key, and the type of players, I think of Barry Ferguson playing that pass. Would he play it again? 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Callum McGregor, if he misplaces a pass and he gets the groans, would he play it again? I think he would.
Yeah.
I think that can be the difference, to be honest.
Yeah, but you need people to stand in there in order for them to do that as well, and I just think that they're not doing that enough. And then Antman as well, I'm not sure about Antman, I'm not sure about the forward line. It's mad. And if you're the Rangers manager tomorrow in January, what are you doing? Danny Röhl, who should he go for? Who should he? What players do you?
Well, I think they've missed the boat on a lot of the British players. I think the fans crave, aren't they? When you think of like back in the day, like they had the opportunities of like Lewis Ferguson's and these type of players. Obviously, Lawrence Shanklin signed a new deal. Listen, I suppose it's another debate when it comes to recruitment when we get closer to the time.
They've got a new problem in the forward area, haven't they? Miovski, Chimniti.
Well, that's the bit when I was one that I thought when they signed me, I didn't know much about Chimiti. I've watched Danilo a few times. I think there's a good player in Danilo, but unfortunately he's always been injured. I think he's sharp, I think he's razor sharp. Listen, he's not in the same bracket as a Kyogo, but I think he plays in that mould where he plays in the shoulder. He's good enough in the air, he can score a variety of different goals. I watched him on his Instagram through the summer. He was running on the beach, he was in the sand. I thought this could be a player that comes at like a free signing almost, you know what I mean? Because he'd obviously not done too much prior to that, but unfortunately, when you then look back at the opportunities he's had, he's not done enough to stay in the team, he's not scored enough goals. And always go back to Boydie, and then I go back to like different eras, and you obviously played with him. When I think he grifts, And I always thought that, like, if you're going to be successful in Scotland, your front boys need to have better numbers than what's across the other side of the city.
Yeah.
And I've always thought, like, when you think of a boy they competing with a Griff, albeit at different times, they're like 25 goal strikers every season.
Yeah.
And they might touch 30. They might touch more, no doubt. If they get them on, they'll tell us they score more. But like, who is that striker for Rangers that's going to go and score 25, 30 goals? You've just got rid of Dessers.
Yeah.
And fans were disappointed in him.
I know.
They complained about his first touch. Was he the answer? I'm not so sure. But
how good's he looking now, though? When you think about it, 60 goals or something he scored.
That's what I'm saying. And then obviously
a lot of
sold.
goals out of that team.
Igaman, obviously sold for good money. Is it good money? Scored 10 goals in the French league already. Is he one that could be the difference? Another goal yesterday, brilliant goal yesterday off the back of a brilliant first touch that we got to see. Listen, to me, Charlie, it's going to be really interesting to see what he does in January, because there's no doubt that he cannot take the job without any guarantees for the board that there's going to be investment there.
Do you think that's why Thelwell and Stewart are away?
I think that's a difficult one, really. I never knew Kevin, obviously, personally. Only had small dialogue with him when I was in the academy before he got the job. But the same with Patrick, obviously totally different remit kind of within the academy to the kind of hierarchy of the club. The narrative sounds as though Kevin was instrumental in a lot of the recruitment.
Yeah.
Whether Russell could tell us totally different and he had the final say, whether Danny Röhl was going to have the final say in recruitment. The recruitment teams obviously changed when you think Nils Coppin was someone that I knew personally that had a big hand in some of these guys, your Jefties, your Igamans. So it'll be interesting to see where they go, because the harsh reality is, I'm sure a lot of the Rangers fans would think that they need better players. Where are they going to come from? Where's the money going to come from? What's the wage bill going to look like? How can you get rid of players? It's not as easy as just going and signing more players when you're unsuccessful.
For me, Kavanagh showed great leadership. As soon as just with this decision, I know the Russell Martin thing was, he's not happy with that, but that's Thelwell and Stewart obviously appointing him. Then that money's been spent. Thelwell and Stewart have obviously had a hand in spending that money, but Kavanagh's then acted quick. How many owners do you see?
Ruthless almost in a way.
And that's decent leadership. I mean, time will tell who he brings in and who replaces him, but at the end of the day, I think you can spend that money and have that on the pitch. I think they've probably went to Röhl and says, what do you think of the signings? And he's potentially went, they're not good enough.
I think the English market, and somebody can tell me if I'm wrong really, but I think just off the top of my head, without going and looking at all the players that have signed, but the English market has not been overly successful for Rangers when you think of the players that they've had over the years, and you go right back to like somebody like a Joey Barton, who is a brilliant player. Watched him live for Newcastle and thought, wow, he was tops, but probably got up in too much animosity when he's up here and took his eye out, but then also played in a Mark Warburton team that wasn't the most successful Rangers team. So maybe a Joey Barton in a really good Rangers team would have been an even better player. There's no doubt that he's obviously a really talented player, but when you think of Rothwells, when you think of Max Aarons, when you think of these players that are obviously coming up,
Max Aarons looks scared to me.
And he's obviously come out and made some different obviously quotes when it's like the fans are not helping, and like the harsh reality is it would be brilliant if it was different. You need to have rhino skin. You need to have that personality to be willing to make a mistake, to hear the groans. I still remember like playing that sideways pass at Ibrox, and like when you're like, it was the right pass, but you get a groan because they wanted to go forward. They wanted to go forward now. No, in 5 seconds. It's just the way it is.
I watch him. I can relate to it so much. He keeps getting it and going backwards because he doesn't want to give it away. And I'm like, see, when you're feeling that as a player, it's the worst place in the world to be. But then in the opposite, if you play a sideways pass and you hear the groans and you're feeling at it, you're feeling confident, you go, give us it again because I'm going forward.
Brush it off. I still remember, and it was probably a big personality stint for me without talking about our time too much, so obviously wanted to talk about the current players, but I remember hitting a shot against Dundee United where we were getting beat 3-2 at Ibrox. I think we had a good record at Ibrox at the time. I remember it being a midweek game. The only reason I remember is I had gold Pumas on, they were rascals. Freebies. But I've hit a shot.
Name?
I've hit
the Bananas?
Aye, worse than name. I've hit a shot and I've like sliced it, and obviously shooting and scoring goals wasn't my gig. Yeah. But I've sliced it, and obviously getting beat 3-2 late on in the game, and I heard all the groans, and I'm like disappointed with myself, obviously raging. I then get the ball again late on, and I kind of like, I'm sure Davy Weir passes it to me, I shimmy away from a couple of people, I brush by somebody and I hit another shot, and I probably should have passed. But I've hit a shot, I'm not so sure the goalie does, well, the goalie does me wonders to be honest, I'm not so sure he does Dundee United too well. Flies in the bottom corner, we end up drawing the game 3-3. I remember Coisty saying to me afterwards, that's what you call personality.
Yeah.
And he was like, the fact that you would hit another shot and be brave enough to take another shot after you'd only hit one a few minutes ago, that you'd obviously sliced, the groans, the boos, the moos, pass it. And I remember thinking, maybe, and obviously shooting wasn't my forte, obviously, but maybe playing that key pass or having the personality when it does come to you, as you say, like feeling good about yourself,
So
sticking your chest out.
at that moment there, are you thinking, fuck this, I'm having another go, I'll show these, or are you thinking...
A wee bit, aye. So I'm like, a brush past and I'm obviously pull the trigger, and listen, I'd back myself obviously when it come to passing or like playing that key pass, but not really shooting. But I felt as though I was growing into a player that took responsibility.
Yeah.
And I suppose that was one of the key moments when you think back to wee times, and I suppose that's what I would say to the young players when you speak about maybe your lad making a mistake. Go and do it again.
Aye.
And it's hard, it's really hard. But when you're young and you're a good player and you play off the cuff, we talk about too much structure for players. Like, I grew up in an industry where like you had street football players, your Riordans, your O'Connors. Do you know what I mean? Like the 3v3s, the 4v4s, the cage football, the playing in the world of soccer. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's how we learnt.
Well, I've never been so thankful for like Tommy Burns and Willie McStay, who never gave us much tactical advice, but they just let us play, and they try and just let us go and learn. And as we went, we learned. We done obviously technical stuff and training and stuff, and then they just trusted us on the pitch. And you made mistakes, but that's how you learned. Or
you never make mistakes, you never learn.
That's what I mean. And
surely.
That's a big part that's missing. Okay, mate. So Martin Hill effect. Have you? What's been your thoughts on that?
I think he's brilliant, mate. He's. I think I said that I've got no doubt the boys, and I would never criticise obviously Brendan, because no doubt he's obviously top manager and he's been really successful over the piece. But I think when you go for somebody like maybe Brendan, I'm not saying Martin Neal's no meticulously planned or the coaches that he's got working with him, but I'm sure there was probably a fresh vibrance, everything stripped back to basics.
How do you think he done that?
I think he probably would have went in and went back to more of a try to create an environment that makes him feel comfortable. And I think that would then relate to the players. I don't think he would want to go into an environment and have too many meetings, too much detail, too much analysis, and that's like somebody might tell me that totally wrong and they've been doing it for hours and hours and hours, but I'm not saying that's what Brendan done, but when you work in a modern day environment nowadays in football, there is more detail, there is more data, there is more staff, there is more provision for the players. I think he would have stripped it all back.
See in the modern game, right, do you think Martin O'Neill himself could have went into Celtic, because I've got a theory on this, could have went into Celtic alone with John Robertson and Steve Walford that he had at Celtic and done the same job?
I think Martin O'Neill, regardless of how successful a manager he's been over the piece, I don't think you lose your way of handling people, the way of the competitive nature inside you. He obviously carries a lot of prestige, so he'll carry a lot of respect.
Yeah.
I think having an edge with somebody at the top, that wee bit of fear, I think is a good thing. I think Martin O'Neill would have carried that.
But do you think he would have been as successful?
I'm not so sure.
I don't think he would have been as successful without Sean Maloney, Fozzie, McManus.
I think you need to be in touch with the modern day player, don't you? And I think he's been really cute and clever. Or you could argue the board have been really cute and clever. Yeah. But I think Celtic have done it really good when you think of John Kennedy's been in there for a long, long time, done a brilliant job.
By the way,
I feel
for John Kennedy, because he's a good guy and he's a good coach. And the work John Kennedy done for Celtic is unbelievable. I don't think people understand the hours and the time and the amount of stuff that he actually done over a period of what Postecoglou, Rodgers his first spell, Postecoglou, Rodgers again, Postecoglou tried to take him because he knows how much work he done. So, but it's a clever move. I agree. Sean Maloney coming in, he must have done a great job. Fordingham for his energy. McManus has obviously played a part in that as well. Strachan's done a part, but I don't think Martin O'Neill would have been able to do it without these guys. But I also think these guys wouldn't be able to do it without Martin O'Neill because all the stuff you mentioned, that presence, that knowing how to manage people, will never go out the game, will it?
Even just I think like I've always thought that the Scottish media, even though we love them, because obviously we're part of it at times, I think when you look at Russell Martin, how easy it was for the media to start to poke and prod him. I think how difficult it was when you think of the prestige that Steven Gerrard held. There's an edge or a wee bit of animosity with the media, what type of questions they ask. I think Martin O'Neill carried the same type of personality when he goes into these, pre-match, post-match, all these interviews. I think it was really a cute move for Celtic, really, because I think he would have enough presence in his armoury to bat off some of these difficult questions. You go and put Fozzie, who I know really well, great lad. Obviously Sean, different personality, a big Mick. They're probably really, really good coaches and top guys, but if things were not going so well, that one mistake that you say as a Rangers manager, whether it comes to the fan base, whether it comes to maybe some of the players listening to you as a Celtic manager, I think it was really clever putting Martin O'Neill in there. And I think when you then think of the experience that he's got, it's easy for him. It's like riding a bike and then going into the post-match, pre-match interviews.
I believe what he's saying, you know what I mean? It's almost like when he speaks, I'm like, I believe you. I feel like you're speaking for the heart. You're authentic. That's the feeling I get from him. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think he overthinks these things. I think you're getting an authentic Martin O'Neill.
Aye, he's obviously done a lot of media, and you see like when he talks about like the goal ratio for chances scored and that, and he like throws it up in the air a wee bit. And I think his personality, and I don't know him personally obviously, but as you mentioned, the kind of support network around him, I would think, I don't know, there was always a wee bit in me that felt Brendan, it was always Brendan's way or no way type thing.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe Martin O'Neill might have that same type of characteristic, but I think you mentioned the type of people that are more closer to the current player is just a perfect foil for Martin O'Neill. And I think Brendan's a wee bit like, I've been that successful, I've been here, I'm not going to change for anyone really, that's my way, it's what we do, it's what's been successful. Whereas I think Martin O'Neill might be a wee bit more, what would be the right terminology, a wee bit more open-minded maybe. To maybe saying that there's different ways to kind of to win a game of football, if you know what I mean. Because that's what it's looked like for me for Celtic. They look like they're playing off the cuff a wee bit more. There seems to be a wee bit more freedom. I don't think they've been at their brilliant best. I don't think they have been since Ange Postecoglou was at the club. But I certainly think when you think of the return that he's had, plus adding that wee bit of like Callum McGregor scoring late on, just at St Mirren obviously just last week.
That's not an accident though, is it?
It's not an accident, it's just that, and then he's obviously got guys, the support network. Sean's been a successful Celtic player, Big Mick's been a successful Celtic player, albeit I know Fozzie.
That early with Rangers, didn't you?
Aye, and I just think these guys in and around the building, they'll be massively respected by the staff, so you've got everybody singing in the same hymn sheet, you've got people pulling in the same direction, people that want to see these guys do well, and I think that's really important.
Aye, I think that I wondered when I saw Martin O'Neill get in and Sean Maloney, not knowing them well, Martin O'Neill so much well, but understanding what he's like as a manager, having been a young boy there, zero tactics, doesn't think about that side of the game. He's about managing players and using his energy to get the best out of players. And then Sean Maloney's, you would say, a lot of tactical analysis, a lot into all that type of stuff. I wondered, how does that go together? But it's been brilliant how they've done it, and I think full credit to Martin O'Neill for stepping in when times are hard. It's looking like his probably last game's going to be Wednesday away to Dundee, and Nancy's going to come in.
Do you think there's a place at the club for him? Not like a bubbly manager, but
100% there's something.
He maybe wouldn't want that maybe at the time of his life, but
I think there's definitely something. I think the connection between the board, the players, the management, the fans.
The fans is a massive one, isn't it? We've obviously just seen the AGM, which obviously wasn't nice for anyone to see really, but
it's huge. The fans, without fans, there's no club, so there needs to be a connection between everybody. And any team that's going to be successful needs to have that connection. Tony Mowbray came into Blackburn, and he was brilliant at getting that connection back between the players, the staff, and the fans. The fans had enough with the Venkies. He comes in, and you say, right, what exactly did he do? Winning games obviously helps, but just like embracing the fans, going over and speaking to the fans, just sort of the words he said in the media about how much the owners helped him and brought him in.
A humbleness, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what it is. It's putting the ego aside and just saying
humbleness, a respect to appreciate the people that actually support the club. I think it's a good. People think that they do it, but I'm not saying we're any different from anyone else. But I think it goes a long way. Yeah. If there's a narrative there that the fans genuinely think people care and they really try their best for the club, I think it gets you extra stripes. And there's no doubt that Martin O'Neill, I'm not so sure about his trackie. I'm not so sure about the trackie, but I'd like to see him in some dapper club. I like how you dress, mate. You need to give him a pair of the baggy chinos that you've got.
I had that trackie on the other day. Actually, I was in Celtic Park.
I seen it.
I was someone asked me to do something with a watch and I ended up having that trackie on. something disturbing about a man in his 70s wearing that. Another a baggy.
He's done a brilliant job, and obviously the result in Europe, going to Easter Road at the weekend, difficult place to go obviously for any team really. Albeit the Hibs are maybe not flying themselves, but big return for
big
for
week.
A big
So
week.
Feyenoord, I thought
They're not doing too well, Feyenoord, to be fair, are they? But
I'm thinking Celtic. I'm thinking right, they struggled against St Mirren. Is the Martin O'Neill effective or not? Goes and proves that wrong. Goes and controls the game. Then I'm thinking Hibs away, hard game. They've just been beat, so they'll be looking for a result. 0-0 at Celtic Park earlier in the season, hard team to beat. Then goes and gets 2 results. Man, it's mad, but I think that'll be him.
Put a bit of pressure on the new guy potentially coming in.
That's what I mean. The more games he goes by winning, Martin O'Neill, people are like, I've heard a few whispers of why not give him the cup final, and that's a good way to kind of send it off. And who knows, he might. He said yesterday on TV he got a phone call on Saturday, I think it was, to say that it's been delayed a wee bit, so Wednesday will be his last game, and he thinks that Wednesday will be the last game, but he's not 100% sure. I'm interested to see what Nancy brings. I think a manager needs to come in, whether it's going to be Martin O'Neill or whether it's going to be the boy Nancy. They need to get somebody in order to get their playing style across and make the signings in January.
If you're Nancy, what staff would you keep? Which is a
I would
difficult
keep
one for you,
Fozzie,
because
just for his
I
accent.
know you know the boys.
I would keep Fozzie in there every day just to come in and say May players. No, listen, I don't.
He's obviously going to bring his own people, isn't he?
I think
You can't have too many,
apparently, so I've
obviously.
heard whispers that there's a fitness coach, and I've heard there's an assistant manager. So that leaves room.
DNA, the former player, is I would suggest.
I think there's a place there for Sean Maloney. I think there's a place there for Fotheringham. I don't know about Adam Strachan. Is it Adam Strachan in it? Adam Strachan.
Gavin's it,
Dave, is it Gavin Strachan?
Gavin
Adam
Strachan,
Strachan. That's
Gav,
Gavin Strachan. We'll cut that.
Gavin and Craig, innit?
Gavin Strachan and McManus might go back to the B team. Who knows? But I think there definitely is a place that you mentioned for players that have played there, and obviously they've done a good job, the coaches. So.
Nancy, new guy coming in. What are you saying? What's the differences we're going to see potentially?
I had a wee look at him, right? So I started on TikTok, just flicking things through, like you do when you're abroad, what's good or here. So I had a wee look, and then I actually spoke to somebody I know that works over in America, and I got a couple of the games sent, and I had a wee look, but some of the stuff's mental. So like, as in, he's got a structure, but there's a lot of fluid movement within the structure. I've got a couple of wee things here. I'll
Similar to who? Who could you liken him to?
So he plays the same formation as
like an Ange Postecoglou, or that intensity, that domination of the ball.
His teams in the MLS ran the most in the MLS. High intensity running, distance covered was the most in the MLS.
And that's obviously with a team that's potentially winning trophies and winning titles with the best players in the league potentially.
Yeah. He plays 3 at the back, so he plays like a 3-4-3. Similar to what Alonso did at Leverkusen with the back 3, the wing backs, 2 midfielders, 2 10s and a striker. But it's quite slow build up like the Zerbi, and then they go quick. The game I watched, they were getting pressed very high. But I'll get it up here, I'll get this picture here, I'll show you the. So this.
What's the Gossie's strengths as a coach?
What's
Obviously
that?
tactical, he'll work at that level, his man management.
I've heard fair souls, his man managing is top. I've heard he's tactically very good. But mate, nothing guarantees success at Celtic Rangers. I mean, how he settles, how he does with the group of players, how he makes wing backs. I mean, Celtic have employed wing backs for years. They've got wingers. I mean, where does Tenecti fit in as a wing back?
That goes back to it for me when I think of Stephen being at Rangers, and he had obviously Walter. I don't know how much interaction he had with him, but obviously he had him in at the club. Would that go back to potentially, like, would Celtic see value in Martin O'Neill with the job he's done, the respect he's got, the connect between the fans? Would Nancy potentially, would that be a good thing for him starting at such a huge club with huge expectation, to have somebody like that, maybe just in the wings, not telling him what to do, but like a sounding board? Wouldn't be the worst idea, would it?
Yep. Here's some of the, just talking about their structure here.
So there's my first thought for you, first question.
Well, there's their left centre back, their middle centre back, their right centre back, their 2 midfielders, number 6s, 2 number 10s attacking midfielders, and then they've got a right wing back. Look how high their wing backs are, and their striker up there as well. So that's their general way they build. The difference, how is that different to Celtic now? Celtic we usually build in a 4-3-3, so
potentially one down rather than the two.
Yes.
Callum.
So they would usually have one Callum McGregor would be the 1-6 would be sat here, and they'd have 2 8s with the 2 10s up. So then you're asking where would this other 6 be? He would be the fullback. In this scenario,
It's not really a role for Hattati, is it really? McKeown, Engels, they probably both want to.
Well, Engels has been playing down as a 6 recently a wee bit more, but no, he's naturally more.
He wants to go forward, doesn't he?
Aye. But within that, mate, they're so fluid. They're like.
Let's see how they play. So it looks straight away that a lot will start for the goalkeeper, obviously, which is normal.
Yeah.
How's that going to affect Kasper Schmeichel?
That'll be interesting because this keeper here looks like he's really good with his feet.
Do you think this will be a shoot? Naturally, you'd think that.
So watch this here, mate, right? So if I pause it there, you've got your 3 centre backs, where they would naturally, the 3 centre backs be in a build up. You've got your 2 number 6s in midfield just here, in front of the centre backs. You've got your 2 number 10s here, and you've got your 2 wing backs and your striker. But wait till you see the 2 number 6s in midfield. So your 2 defensive midfielders in this scenario drop all the way down.
And they always become like 2 centre backs, don't they?
Yeah.
Going to be a big onus on Kasper Schmeichel if they're going to play that way. There's the next problem for you. How many teams in Scotland? I'm just counting opposition. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 going after the ball. Yeah. How many opposition teams in Scotland will go to Celtic Park and try and press that high up the pitch? So does that bit become null and void for Celtic?
Could be. This might be something that happens in Europe unless a team in Scotland, like your Motherwell, who have been pressing high, go right. We're going to go after these. Then look at your left centre back, your middle centre back, and your right centre back, and that's your 2 midfielders that are down next to the goalkeeper. I've never seen anything like that before.
Incredible.
So if a team press high, that's what you can expect. I agree with you, mate. I think a lot of the games in Scotland, they won't need to do the rotations in the build up when they build up to score.
They'll get that bit initially free, won't they?
They'll already get free to get the ball.
Interesting as we move forward to look at what they look like in the final third when they're playing against potentially.
Do you know what that gives them in the final third? So if we just wait a minute, we'll continue with this a minute because I don't know if there's anything more to see here. So this just allows you to see that's a right centre back. So we're talking about him being a centre back. Look at him going into a number 10 pocket.
I can't imagine Carter Vickers will want to be in there. Like
I know. Right, so
they're well connected into the kind of back line in the midfield boys. The 6s are obviously I played as a 6. But normally when you end up as a 6 in between the 2 centre backs, you end up with your centre backs either side of you, knows another 6 normally.
Yeah.
Obviously a lot of people speak about like the false fullback, but he's actually making his left centre back become false fullback, and then your 6 is dropping in. So normally the outside one would be the fullback, would be obviously higher up, wouldn't they? But
have a look at the right centre back here. So if Celtic are getting pressed in a game,
there's a lot of space in that.
Who's going to be this right centre back? So here's your right centre back coming inside the pitch.
Wow. Which obviously receiving that and that type of pass, you'd expect that to be going into a midfielder, a 10 dropping down, even maybe if you were playing with 2 front boys, one of the deeper ones dropping in to try and link, but
yeah.
Obviously they turn the ball over, don't they, when they go wide.
So it's going to be interesting to see who plays these roles, because the lad here is playing right centre back.
Well, that's a question for you.
He's naturally a wing back.
You obviously get to Celtic, you can recruit players, so it'll be interesting to see. Gets to January, new manager coming in, big club, big expectations. Fans are obviously striving for new signings. It will be really interesting to see which players he brings in to fit that model, because it's unique, isn't it?
The good thing about when he plays the back 3 is it's one like so Celtic traditionally would build with a 4 with the 1 that we just spoke about there, but with the back 3 when they build up gives you an extra man there. So see when they do get into the forward areas, there's an extra man in the box. You see centre back and they go for 1 at the back. So if there's 1 striker, they'll go 1 for 1, or 2 if there's 2 strikers, they'll go 2 for 2 and they'll push everybody else on. So I think they're a wee bit susceptible to his Columbus team a wee bit susceptible to counter-attacks, and I think that could be a wee bit of a danger with teams that play in the counter-attack Scotland.
Which, when you think of teams like, obviously, even a Falkirk, we have an Aggie man coming on against Rangers, blistering speed, a Boyley obviously at Hibs, you know, natural ones, even a St Mirren who are really good on the counter-attack. Then you get teams like Motherwell who have been a breath of fresh air. You've got the front boys at the Jambos that are obviously your Bragas, etc., that have got blistering speed, so it'll be interesting to see how he does. How do you think that will affect Callum McGregor? I know he's a brilliant player, but just when I'm watching you say that there with 2 sixes instead of 1, I know you've mentioned obviously Engels has dropped into obviously support him.
I think he'll be fine for him. I think he'll be fine in that.
So I always think, like, when you end up with an extra player in there, they almost get in your way. I'd love to have Callum on to ask. This is a CDM when I used to play. Sometimes you'd play as a 2 and you'd think, oh, I've got a midfield partner, that means I need to do less running and I've got somebody to support me.
Yeah.
But actually sometimes they get in your way. And then when you play for Rangers and Celtic and you dominate the ball, it's actually sometimes overkill having an extra player in there.
Did you prefer to play as a...
I prefer to play with somebody like Barry, who never really used to drop deep, who was always thinking of going forward. Yeah. Mendes always thinking about going forward. Whereas sometimes when I played at Hibs, and we sometimes played as like a 3, me, Boozlin and Mikey Stewart might do the same job, so we would end up like a 2 and a 1.
Aye.
And then obviously I just sometimes felt it was like a wee bit overkill that you ended up 2 years never really done a job. He's both done half jobs, if that makes sense. So
I quite liked sitting with 2. Me and Bruni done it a couple of times, and it's probably because I never had the legs.
And that's because he run about and you just sat.
I just sat let Bruni do the running. You carry the water, mate, I'll play the game. So what's interesting for me though is the wing backs. Who's going to do these wing back roles? Because I don't think Tierney will do it. I think Tierney will do a left centre back role if Nancy comes in and this is what he plays. I think he'll play the centre back role. I think, is it Sriracha? Is that his name? Sriracha sauce? So I think he'll play potentially there. But I just don't know who does the right wing back. Johnson maybe when he's back from injury.
And it probably doesn't suit. Probably suits left side than it does more right side. You wouldn't think Johnson's a natural attacking type. I would say he's more a steady Eddie type. I'm not saying that he can't get forward and be on the front foot, but I would say he's not James Tavernier where he's going to get brilliant numbers when it comes to goals.
I think that's going to be an interesting bit, because the left-sided wing back in Nancy's team's a winger that's been converted. So when you play wing back, as you know,
where does Maeda play in that?
That's what I don't know. That's a mad thing. So if he's not the striker, he doesn't fit anywhere else really, does he? Unless, can he do a wing back role? He's not going to defensively.
Listen, he's got the energy, hasn't he? He could run up and down the park all day, or it'll be aye. And I think that as we move forward, it'll be a real good debate to what type of players he brings in to fit into the position. I just think Callum McGregor, when you mention even Kieran Tierney there, I think Callum McGregor, I might be totally wrong, I think Callum McGregor would rather be the pivot in the middle of the pitch on his own.
He's got the legs.
To then give that extra green jersey an option for him to play forward or to bounce off to then go and play. When you showed the clip there of the right centre back coming in and goalkeeper playing through, Kieran Tierney can easily do that, obviously on the other side, going and receiving in that space. And I wouldn't say he's a natural inverted fullback, but I think slightly higher, he can receive it, he can play outside, he can play, he's obviously a brilliant player. I'm not so sure if Carter Vickers ended up on the right hand side of Scales or Scales ended up on the left, it would suit either of them as much. So it'll be interesting to see.
Definitely not Carter Vickers.
Nah, he's not wanting to go in there, is he? So it'll be interesting to, well, there you go. Will he adapt?
He could. He could be saying, "Oh, this, he'll play a back 4." Probably.
His first podcast that he's going to listen to Scotland is us two talking rubbish and silly fair than he know what they're talking about.
So league leaders, mate, 1-1 in is it 1-1 in 5, isn't it? They've drew 3, 1-1, lost 1. Have their arses went?
No, because I think they've probably exceeded expectation.
Did you ever buy into the fact?
Nah, probably no, but I fully committed to, for what I've said previous when I've done the games, I've done the derby, the fans should relish it, they should enjoy it, it's what football's all about, it's why we love it. And also having somebody like Dell at the helm, who I've listened to loads of his pre-match stuff, his post-match stuff, he's always carried the same narrative that there's a long way to go, delighted with the start we've made, as you would expect an experienced manager. I think they were always going to be, as the season progressed, come under more pressure as the prestige built to them being at the top of the league, if that makes sense, because they didn't carry the same weight as Rangers and Celtic. Everybody wants to beat them. I think Hearts have now got a wee bit of that target on their back, and I think that makes it harder for them. Also, the depth of their squad. I think they've got a good squad, but also I think their starting 11's quite far in advance better than what they've got sitting on the bench. So injuries, suspensions, these wee type of things, as soon as they start to creep in. But I have to say they made a wonderful start, but I'm not so sure they can keep it up.
So I get a lot of stick for the Hearts fans. I say they should enjoy it while it lasts because they'll not be there for long.
That's bad that if I get less stick as an ex-Hibs player, the Hearts fans is what you do.
They couldn't give me any more stick than they gave me on Twitter. They came for me, but I then had a couple of glass of wine and I put it there saying you'll be 8 points behind. You'll be 8 points behind you come March, right? You'll be 8 points behind Celtic, potentially Rangers as well, come March, and they were fuming, right? So my point is, in my lifetime, I've never seen Hearts or any other team get close to winning a title. So I've got no evidence to suggest that can happen. Now I look at the Hearts team, Beningame, Devlin, brilliant at what they do in midfield in terms of breaking up play and winning the ball. They've got Millen playing right mid, who is a left back. They don't have enough. Is it Casaridis? He looks like he can produce. You've got Shankland, you've got Braga, who are good players. I don't think they've got enough. When you look at Celtic,
stars, aren't they?
When you look at Celtic, McGregor can score. Hatate, Engels, wingers, striker. They've got 5 and 6 players that can go and contribute. I think Hearts are struggling. They've relied heavily on Stuart Finlay scoring goals. He's not going to keep scoring goals.
Alcott's produced a few as well.
Alcott's produced a few winners. I've not been drawn into it, so I'm saying I feel that now you're beginning to see Hearts struggling. They've not got the mentality. I don't think at Celtic Rangers you can't accept a draw, you can't accept a defeat. These things happen and it's a crisis. I mean, look at Celtic Rangers now, there's crisis at these clubs, people are saying. Through board levels or whatever, and they're still in touch with Hearts.
I totally understand.
Did you see the Motherwell game?
But what I would say about Hearts is Casaridis, Braga, Shankland, I think they're the 3 superstars really into the team, and the rest of the team are a foil for that. The interesting bit is what Jamestown does come January for me, because Casaridis, Braga, there's no doubt they're exceptional players. There's obviously a few other ones in there as well that have not quite hit the ground running. The Brazilian lad obviously is top player, injuries, etc, took a bit of time to settle. I think Dell's managed them really well. You've got a young lad like James Wilson, Scotland international, come through the academy, so I think they've got a wee bit of firepower there. The most intriguing thing for me is the start that they've made is, will Tony Bloom back them come January, and what will they signings look like? Because there's no doubt some of the ones they've brought in have been astute.
It's brilliant for Scottish football though. I want to sit here and talk about these teams.
You sound like you're a Hibby though.
No, I don't. Listen, I don't want Hearts to win the league. I don't want Hibs to win the league. I want Celtic to win the league. But what I want is competition, because it makes it better for everybody. It's a breath of fresh air watching Motherwell right now. I mean, did you see them at the weekend?
Listen,
I don't know how they've not won that game. I've never seen a team for ages outside Celtic and Rangers with that much possession and that style of play.
How's it doing it?
It's so good to see. I mean, even for the first game when they played Rangers, when I first noticed it, they're playing through the lines and for the back. Then they go to Hearts, they absolutely dominate possession, they're playing through the lines. Hearts didn't know where they're coming or going, they'd one shot on target. They absolutely dominated them, so fair play. I think Motherwell are a right good team.
They're a team to watch, aren't they?
Yeah, they're good.
When you consider that he's not had much investment in the squad, and without being disrespectful to Motherwell, I think they're a great club, but he's come in, and when you think of guys like Paul McGinn's, Stephen O'Donnell's, guys that have been there, who have probably never played in a style like this before, and it's a sign of a good coach for me. When you think of Russell Martin, wanted to dominate the ball, wanted to pass, when you speak about playing through the lines and dominating possession, the tiki-taka type, Barcelona type football that obviously I think Russell wanted, to play fast, to play around the box, to score loads of goals, to be exciting. The Motherwell boys, they've been terrific, haven't they? They must be loving it.
The boy Josh looks a good player. He played right wing against Hearts, looked really good. He had a couple of chances, should have scored. Don't know how he's noised through. Free shot for the penalty spot, and he's good save. But Motherwell looking good, looking really good. Is that alright on name?
He's won the Red Dog with Scotland.
Aye, mate, Steve Clark.
Genius.
What should I pick? He's got to be, isn't he?
Is he a genius?
Well, he's not a genius, but I think he deserves a lot of credit.
We had debate, didn't we, about obviously the iconic game, about the substitution about putting Kieran Tierney on as a lefty at right, and then he scores that wonderful goal. Are you thinking that's meant? My idea is obviously the clearance, the Danish player could probably clear that ball 100 times and it doesn't go there. But I have to listen. I'm Steve Clarke's biggest fan. I think the scrutiny that he's under comes with the territory.
Yeah.
Back-to-back Euros, now the World Cup, first time since '98 is unbelievable. The group of players he's got, all playing at high levels. I spoke to Boydie numerous times about him. Strips everything back to basics. Players know their jobs. He's done a wee bit on our pro licence. Got the luxury of asking him a couple of questions. And obviously, listen, we're desperate to see the national team do well, aren't we? It creates that dream for the next generations that they'll hopefully one day can go on and play for Scotland. But I'm not so sure the bit of luck that you think was a masterstroke was putting Kieran Tierney on at the right and them coming in on that left peg. But I
don't think for a minute Steve Clarke's went, let's put Kieran Tierney on so he can come inside and shoot, right? But
it's a brilliant finish.
But
he's probably the only player in the park that could do it.
He's probably made subs and get stick in the past, so I'm going to give him a bit of credit for this one. He's booked Tierney on at the perfect time and he's went on and scored that goal. Kieran Tierney naturally narrows in as a fullback, especially when the ball's on the other side.
He's obviously different, isn't he?
If you look at the run he makes just as the ball comes into the box, long ball into the box, he narrows in, it drops to him perfectly, great finish. But if you go through the subs, Kenny McLean brings on people have gave a bit of stick. I remember the last Euros, somebody said, I was on the radio or something, somebody said, give the young lads, I think Steve Clarke deserves a lot of credit for sticking to a lot of boys Kenny McLean being one that he's stuck with, and he's kept he understands how important the stuff off the pitch is. But a fan said on the radio, asked me, do you not think the young boys deserve a shot? And I'm like, mate, it's not a set of swings, it's a Scottish national team. You know what I mean? The guys want to shove young boys on the pitch.
Well, he has. We obviously Ben Doak, isn't he?
I know, but he's the core of the squad he's kept the same. People have asked for certain
these guys are, when you think of John McGinn's, Andy Robertson's, Kieran Tierney's, like a lot of these guys.
Even though McLean's.
By the way, he's had to think of the goalkeeper situation that he's had to deal with.
I know.
Which is a master. I know Big Craigie really well, but I think Craigie will be 43 now, stroke 44, not even playing for Hearts.
Yeah. And
then he can come and produce, a performance like that. Couple of real smart saves, but just as you mentioned, I think a lot of people that look for outside in will think Steve Clarke knows these guys personally. He sees them when they're in the hotels. He knows what they're like on the training pitch. He knows what they're like when they're sitting in the foyer at night time. He knows when they're going to their bed. He knows what they're like when they get up for the breakfast. All these things that are really important in a national camp, because if you didn't have that right, and you didn't create the right culture within the camp, you didn't get the togetherness that allows you to have a successful national team. But when you think,
come out and said that in England, there wasn't that togetherness.
Well, they had obviously Man United players didn't maybe speak to Liverpool. I felt like that when I played in the national team, albeit I didn't play as much as I felt as I should do. A lot of Rangers and Celtic players were part of a big bulk of the squad, and even though Scotty was my best mate, so we sometimes roomed together. Sometimes we didn't. I maybe room with Whitty or whatever. But sometimes there'd be like 7 or 8 Rangers players, 7 or 8 Celtic players. So a big bulk of the squad, and you're competing each other, your biggest rivals, and then all of a sudden you're trying to pull in the right or the same direction. So I think back to then, it probably not doing any of the lads a disservice, but it's certainly different, I would imagine, now than it was obviously back then. Aye. And I'm sure guys like John McGinn's, Andy Robertson's, Kieran Tierney's, these type of guys, your Craigie's. I know Craigie's a quiet lad, but I know what personality John McGinn's like. They'll be catalyst for everything good that Steve Clarke does.
Aye, he's been brilliant.
Listen, it's brilliant, isn't it? The nation's on fire. We're delighted, and hopefully Steve Clarke will maybe now invite us to the World Cup.
Did you ever score a goal at McTominay's?
Nah, not even up there. Not even in the garden. Not even in the eyes.
I reckon I can get up there, but I reckon I miss the ball.
No, you're as tall as that anyway.
I'm getting up there, but I was 3 seconds too late.
There's no way you're getting your leg up there now.
I'm getting up there, 100%.
You teed it.
But I'm definitely missing the ball, the timing and that. What a goal, what a player, man.
By the way, how good's he been?
So, Ballon d'Or nominee. When's the last time Scotland a Ballon d'Or nominee, a Champions League winner,
I know.
Players captain in Premier League clubs?
I know. And then when you think and he gets a lot of stick, but when you think like a Craigie not playing for Hearts, all due respect to Hearts, and then you think like a Grant Hanley doing a brilliant job for Hibs, very rarely would you have such a successful national team with Hibs and Hearts players. So it shows you the standard, and it shows you how highly these boys are thought of. Because no getting a game, I know the goalkeeper situation is different, but when you think of Grant Hanley's performances, you know, sometimes having to come off the bench, obviously a late call off,
Yeah.
wasn't he, for a late starter for John Souttar, obviously calling off. Tried and tested, like where's his heart in his sleeve? Probably suited by the way Steve Clark plays.
You'll
wee
feel
bit
that
more
loyalty for him, no one.
Aye. And I'll be, listen, I would love to be a player, but these boys have obviously a lot of football to be played. Touchwood for all of them that they've got a fit Billy Health, but they'll all be desperate to get on that plane, won't they? And what I think they'll take, 23, there'll be probably a 26-man squad, they'll probably only get to take 23, 24 players, there'll be a couple on standby, I'm sure you get a couple of reserves. What a carrot for them.
Just get Harvey Barnes on that flight as well if he fancies it. Get him in.
Would you take him?
100%. If he fancies it, I'd be on the phone to him now.
I've seen Keith Downey.
We don't know. What?
Keith Downey put him on not on the spot, but obviously after it, he
What did he
obviously
say?
He'd interviewed him and obviously said you'd have watched the Scotland game, and he had said that the door's never shut, and there's been discussions previous, but nothing. I'm sure it was on Sky Sports. So listen, he's a wonderful player, innit? But then you go about loyalty. Where does Harvey Barnes fit in when you've got like your Christies, your McLeans, your McTominays, your?
I know, but get him
Just
in.
take the best players.
Get him in, take the best players. You don't need to drop McLean, you don't need to get rid of McTominay, you don't need to get rid of McLean. You can still fit in that squad. I'm sure there's a couple of fringe players that can miss it. We've no wingers. If we're going to play a back four, we need wingers and we need pace.
He'll not play with wingers, will he?
Well, he has been recently though, hasn't he?
Nah,
if Dokes is fit, he's got to play, isn't he?
Dokes is out, isn't he? Well, he'll play with one, won't he?
Is Dokes not going to make the World Cup?
Oh, I think, well, if he's badly hurt his hamstring, it could be a 3-month job, couldn't it?
So what's that? January,
He'll still
February,
be
March?
fit, but how fit will he be?
I know.
Do you know what I mean? How many games will he have played since then? Listen, I'm just flying a kite regarding his timescale, but listen,
Get
one
him in,
brilliant
get
talent.
Barnes in.
Get Barnes in, there you go, this is exclusive for you.
Thanks for watching The Backroom with me, Charlie Mulgrew and Kevin Thomson. Don't forget to press that like and subscribe button.